Hello, welcome to Hollywood Crime Scene. This is Rachel Fisher.
Hi, this is Desi Jedeikin. We're back.
What do you have for us this week, Desi?
Well, today we're going to go back into haunted Hollywood, talking about some of Hollywood's most haunted locations. I did go through all of our old haunted Hollywood, Los Angeles episodes just to refresh my mind on what we had done because I was worried I would do something and you'd be like, we covered that. I was actually thinking I should have made a list that we have for the future because sometimes it's hard to remember if we mentioned something or actually covered it.
Did you? Yeah.
So hopefully I got them all, but I'm pretty sure we never did these stories today. So we're going to focus on some of Hollywood's most famous haunted residences. And my first location has a very long Hollywood history, but became famous for being haunted when Dan Aykroyd lived there. So this is a home located at 7708 Woodrow Wilson Woodrow Wilson Drive in Hollywood Hills. As I mentioned up top, this house has quite a history, including several former owners who ended up having cursed endings themselves, including Natalie Wood and Mama Cass Elliott. Now, Natalie Wood's parents actually built this home in 1951 and transferred the deed over to Natalie when she married Robert Wagner for the first time. In 1965, she sold the home to Cass Elliott, and it's rumored to be the place where Crosby, Stills, and Nash met. Now, at this time, she kind of ruled Laurel Canyon with Joni Mitchell. They were the ladies of the canyon. And as we know, Mama Cass dies in 1974 at the age of 32 in London in a flat owned by Harry Nilsson. 4 years later, Keith Moon dies in the same flat at the same age, 32. Now, Harry Nilsson gets spooked at this point that two people died in his apartment. That's pretty scary.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm out of here. So he sells his flat to Pete Townsend of The Who, and he buys Mama Cass's house at 7708 Woodrow Wilson Drive.
Then he didn't know it was haunted.
No, he didn't know.
That's a bad luck.
I know. He must have been like, what the fuck? So he's rarely there, so maybe that's why he doesn't notice. But he does rent the property out to Ringo Starr, who stays there when he's in LA during the 70s. So in November of 1979, while Ringo is hosting a party, a fire breaks out upstairs in the house, and sparks were flying out of one of the home's 6 fireplaces and like caught things on fire.
Oh my God.
That was a ghost. The fire caused $135,000 in damage and destroyed some of the former Beatles' memorabilia. So neither Ringo or any of his guests were hurt, but Harry Nilsson wanted to get rid of the house. He's like, I'm done with cursed houses. A few years later, Dan Aykroyd and his wife, Donna Dixon, buy the house.
Did Harry tell Dan?
Probably not, but I don't think Dan would care because I think it's pretty well-known fact that Dan is very famous for his paranormal beliefs, and according to him, paranormal shit is his family business. He still, to this day, shacks up every once in a while in his family's farmhouse in Ontario, Canada, and this has been the site of Aykroyd seances for generations. Aykroyd's great-grandfather was a renowned spiritualist, and the family had its own regular medium to channel souls from the other side at this farmhouse. His grandfather was a telephone engineer, and he investigated the possibility of contacting the dead via radio technology. So he's trying to make one of those phones that talk to the dead.
Wow.
And Dan's father authored a well-regarded history of ghosts. According to Dan, most places in Canada, you'd see Look magazine or National Geographic or Life magazines all stacked up. In my house, it was the American Society for Psychical Research magazines, Fate magazines, British Society for Psychical Research, all of these publications that studied the paranormal. So I grew up with it. There was just no way out of it. Psychical, by the way, is just like psychic, that kind of stuff. So this connection to the spiritual world continues with the next generations of Aykroyds as well, because when he takes pictures of his daughter as she's growing up, there's often strange lights and halos around his daughter in photographs. So when Aykroyd moves to the house on Woodrow Wilson Drive in the early 80s, he immediately sensed the place was haunted. Something would play piano, doors would be slamming, and things like his Stairmaster would just turn on.
Not the Stairmaster.
Now, I looked this up because I was like, Stairmasters were invented? And they were invented in the early 80s. So he must have had like the first one.
Oh my God.
There was even crazier events, though. He said that one time his wife and him were in bed, and according to him, quote, her jewelry did a little dance next to our bed. She saw it too. She had bracelets there, a pearl bracelet and a metal bracelet, and all of a sudden it was like they were doing a little mini cyclone. The most eerie incident was the time he felt someone crawl into bed with him, but it wasn't his wife. He said, something got into bed with me one night. I believe when I was alone there, the door was closed but not locked, and it opened. I felt a chill, and then I felt something compressed next to me on the mattress. And what am I going to do? I'm tired. I just come home from work. There's no one there. So I just snuggled up next to it and went to sleep. I had a very good night's sleep, actually. I would never do that.
Yeah, I guess he's the kind of paranormal believer who isn't like necessarily that afraid of ghosts.
Right. His daughter also had an experience in the house. He said, my daughter saw a red-haired man with a red-haired girl walking at the end of the hall. The rumor was that somebody had died of a drug overdose in the house and was buried in the hillside. It was also Mama Cass's house. One of our friends, an ex-army boxing champion who was scared of nothing, said he saw a huge black mass moving across the stairway. Numerous people said there was stuff going on in that house.
So he would have people over.
And they would also experience
They would
things.
verify this.
Yes. So Aykroyd believes at least one of these spirits was the spirit of Cass Elliot. He said in an interview, I'm sure it's Mama Cass. People, the interviewer asked, what made you so certain? Some of the disturbances, he said, were so large and noisy. You got the feeling it's a big ghost. Now, I don't know why he had to dress
Why did he have
Mama Cass like
Why do you have to say it like that?
I don't know. Now, instead of being unsettled by this paranormal activity, this is what inspired him to write the movie Ghostbusters with Harold Ramis.
Oh, yeah, he co-wrote it.
He co-wrote the movie.
That. Sorry.
And this was where he basically was inspired to write the movie. Now, the movie was much darker in the initial draft than what it came out to be. And another sort of creepy tie-in is that John Belushi was supposed to be in the movie, but then died of an overdose. So when the Hollywood Hills home was put back on the rental market in 2007, it was rented to singer Robbie Williams for 3 months.
Oh.
And he found the place to be completely and utterly haunted. He insists that he was aware of otherworldly presences as soon as he entered the property. He was a guest on Ron Wood's from the Rolling Stones' ex-wife, Jo Wood's Alien Nation. That's her podcast.
What?
Have you heard of this podcast?
No, I want to get on the pod. What is this podcast? Is it like
I think it's a paranormal podcast, yeah. So in this interview, he recalled that he would say things to the spirits. He said when he got there, I know that you're here, and I'm going to respect your space. I please ask you to respect mine as I am scared of you. That made me laugh.
Honestly, I think that's a pretty good thing to say. Like, just be honest.
Like, I'm scared of you, even if you're nice.
Yeah.
Like, please be gentle.
Be nice to me.
He said that a friend was living with him at the time, like came down for a visit, and the friend told him that he was in the shower and he was white when he came out of the shower. And Robbie said, what's up? And he said, I've just had a conversation with someone in the bathroom that wasn't there.
Honestly, I'd be like, I'm in the shower.
This is what Robbie is talking about. Please, I'm scared of you.
Now a boundary has been crossed.
Well, because it's kind of like the ghost is just like, I'm just chilling. They don't get that we're scared of them.
They don't get that we're scared of them, and they don't understand that like this person's in the most vulnerable state you can be, which is like either on the toilet or in the shower.
Right. It's like a guy being a little aggressive and not realizing. It's like, look, we're scared of you. Like when guys are aggressive, like you need to tone it down.
Yeah.
According to Robbie, the plot thickened. According to him, when one time, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the Mamas and the Papas song California Dreamin' just played on the TV one night. And he said the change of atmosphere when that happened was like a silence I've never experienced before or since.
I
He
mean, at least it wasn't make your own kind of music, because that's such a cliche now.
Then he'd also be like, "Wait, Lost too?"
Yeah.
Like,
What was that in Lost?
yes. Yes,
But
very famously in Lost.
But you know how every TV show started playing that song?
I think it probably started with Lost because it was so in Lost all the
It just
time.
became so overdone.
Yes. So, not that California Dreamin' is like a
I
deep
know.
cut.
Honestly, to be fair, that's a little cliche as well.
So he recalled also that his puppy, Sid, could no longer be persuaded to stay in that room after the song played. It like wouldn't go in there. Now, I mentioned earlier that Harry Nilsson leased the home to his friend Ringo Starr, and Robbie was friends with Ringo's son, Zach Starsky, and Zach spent a lot of time in the home when he was a kid, and he confirmed Robbie's feelings that the house was haunted. Speaking to Joe Wood again, Robbie said that Zach asked him, "I hear you're at the old house. Have you met the kids yet? We used to play with them when we were little." Now, even like departing this house proved to be difficult. By the way, the kids were ghosts.
Wait.
So Zach said to him, "Have you met the kids?" Meaning the ghosts that live there, the kid
Ugh.
ghost. And he used to play with them. Him and his siblings would play with these ghost children.
No.
That's like a movie,
That is
right?
terrifying when they're like, my friend, Billy.
Yeah.
And the parent's like, who's Billy? He's right over there. Don't you see him?
Yeah. And they're like, "Billy died of typhoid fever 100 years ago."
Yeah, exactly.
We find like the grave.
The
It's like
gravestone.
really old. So those movies will always get me though, I will say. He said that even when he was trying to leave the house, it was very difficult because the workers he hired to help him move at some point refused to go back into the house because they saw an old lady sitting in the chair.
Stop it. What chair?
I don't know. I'm guessing it's a rocking chair.
Yeah, it has to be.
Now, unknown to these movers, this lady was also mentioned by Zach Starkey. He talked about this old woman in the chair as well.
See, this is where you get good verification, is when multiple people see the same characters.
And they're completely unrelated. Like the movers would have no idea.
Exactly.
Yeah. So in 2008, Beverly D'Angelo bought the house. And in 2011, she appeared on A&E's Celebrity Ghost Stories. That sounds really good, and I have never seen it. And she talked about the time she was stirred awake in the house by a skittering sound as she was drifting off to sleep in her bed. She got up and went over to the mantle, and suddenly her jewelry shot about and onto the floor. She's like, that was absolutely freakish. So that's the second jewelry incident.
This ghost is fabulous. She loves jewelry.
They're like, "Where's your bangles, bitch?" So that's the house. It's actually a very cute house too.
I want to see this house and I want to know who's living in it today. How much did they pay for it? Was there a discount?
I don't know if anyone has bought it from Beverly D'Angelo.
Oh, Beverly.
She might still own it.
And
I didn't
she's fine with it.
see like that she had sold it. But up until 2011, at least, she was still there. Next up, we have Rick Rubin's The Mansion.
It's his mansion?
It's called The Mansion. That's a home he, I think, lives in, but it's also his famous recording studio, The Mansion. So a little backstory here. A famous part of music lore is that when the Red Hot Chili Peppers were about to begin recording their album Blood Sugar Sex Magic, they wanted to do it in an unconventional setting, similar to how Black Sabbath would reside and record in like a spooky castle.
Yeah.
They're like, "We want to do that." And Rick Rubin had the perfect place. He had recently purchased what was thought to be the former home of Harry Houdini, or at least a place he had stayed while he was in LA. Now, this would become his iconic recording studio known as The Mansion. So, some of the rock albums to come out of the past few decades, like big rock albums, were recorded in The Mansion. I mentioned Blood Sugar Sex Magic. System of a Down recorded Hypnotized there. Linkin Park did Minutes to Midnight at the studio. Slayer, Marilyn Manson, Maroon 5, Audio Slave. Like
Maroon 5 was like
yeah,
this.
that's the odd man out.
I'm like, oh, so these are like rocker.
Yeah. And Maroon 5.
Good for them.
Good for them. They're like, we want to be cool. You know, Adam Levine, he always wants to, he's got like all the tats.
He's got all the tats.
He wants to be a little harder than he is, I think.
You look at him and you're like, oh, you think you don't know what Maroon 5 sounds like, and then you hear it and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Now, the original house was on this lot, was built in 1918. That house burnt down and was rebuilt in the 50s. And I think people just kind of think there was bad energy there from the start. What really excited musicians, though, was that it was rumored to be magician Harry Houdini's residence at some point.
Is this in Hollywood?
It's in Laurel Canyon.
Laurel Canyon.
That he lived in this, what is now a 10-room Laurel Canyon estate. There's a lot of confusion about this, whether or not he ever lived there. Some say he didn't live in the mansion, but he possibly lived in a guest cottage that was like down the hill. Laurel Canyon's a very hilly area.
Harry Houdini always shows up in these old haunted stories. He's always like, oh, and it's rumored Harry Houdini took a shit here.
Yes. Well, I was thinking it might be interesting to look for us to do an episode on his time in LA.
I would love to do an episode on him.
Because he definitely is rumored to be a lot of places. There is a place in Laurel Canyon now called Harry Houdini, the Houdini Estate. And I think it's like an empty.
I've been there.
You have? It's like an empty lot, right? Or I mean, it's just
What's
like, it's
mansion?
not like a house.
What about the Harry Houdini mansion?
I mean, there's all this speculation about what is real, though.
I've been to the Harry Houdini mansion.
Where is it?
In, like, the hills.
Okay.
It's been a long time.
I think that the thing is, a lot of people claim.
I'm saying the one that's called, whatever the one that's called the Harry Houdini mansion.
I know. What I'm saying is that's not necessarily verified.
I agree.
Yeah. You can't really verify these things. That's why some people think it was this place where Rick Rubin records. Other people are like, oh, no, it's this place. There is a place called the Houdini Estate in the area.
Maybe that's the place I've been to.
Maybe. Anyway, it's like a lot up in the air.
Why can't they verify this?
Because he was a mysterious man.
He was very mysterious.
So, where was I? So he did live somewhere in that area, and some believe it was just a guest cottage that was on the estate of a bigger mansion. They also mention that Houdini, like in these articles, he was obviously famous for being an escape artist, and he would practice stunts in the mansion's pool. That's where the mansion, meaning Rick Rubin's mansion. So the house, one of the big estates too, his wife definitely, or his widow definitely lived there at some point. And she famously hosted a party for 500 magicians at one of these buildings. And she obviously held a lot of seances because, you know, back in those days, seances were huge.
People in the 1920s loved seances.
They loved spiritualism. So the other legend behind the house, this is from Weird California. It says that in Weird California, it says that the house was once owned by a wealthy man who had a son. During a lavish party, the son on a balcony, the son who was on a balcony 30 feet above the ground, got into a spat with his lover and pushed him, sending the other boy over the edge. The boy died from the fall, and the father spent his fortune helping his son avoid a prison sentence. So people speculate that was how the house began its curse.
It was two boys?
Two boys.
Lovers.
So, lovers. Back then, that would have been a huge, even bigger scandal.
Yeah.
Just based on that. So Houdini, apparently, those people who believe this think he moved into the guest house of this mansion. But there's no verification for most of this. So as of 2011, the site of the cottage was a vacant lot and up for sale. The main mansion building itself was rebuilt after this 1959 Laurel Canyon fire. And that's when, at some point, Rick Rubin gets it. I think 1990 he gets it. And this is when it becomes known as the Mansion. So a
Give
lot
it
of
away, give it away, give it away now.
thank God, Blood Sugar Sex Magic, Under the Bridge, classic.
Well, what else was on that?
Under the Bridge. There's like a song about the girl breaking the girl.
Breaking the Girl.
Breaking the Girl.
Was that on that album?
Yeah,
Or
Breaking
was
the
it
Girl.
before?
No, it's on that album.
I kind of liked that one.
Look, I'm not going to say I never liked a Red Hot Chili Pepper song.
I'm
I
not
for
either.
sure had Mother's Milk, which was before Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
Oh my God, the
I'm
mic
a
just
fan.
moved.
I'm a fan of Higher Ground, their cover. I think I've mentioned that before. And I probably bought Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
I think we all had that album when it came out.
It had magic. I mean, Under the Bridge, I probably liked that song when it came out, but it got so fucking played out.
Yeah.
And then at some point, the Chili Peppers just became a joke.
They kind of became,
do you know what I mean?
They became a parody of themselves.
They're definitely one of those bands that kind of, because Blood Sugar Sex Magic was their first big label record. And I think a lot of bands lose their street cred when they do that, whether it's fair or not. And I'm sure some bands don't, but they definitely, I feel like, did.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Look, I'm a Faith No More girly. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Is that comparable to Chili Peppers?
I think they're way better.
I mean,
I'm just saying there was like
because they kind of had that rappy.
There was a rivalry. I mean, their earlier stuff was like that. Their earlier stuff was like, it was compared to the Red Hot Chili Peppers' earlier stuff, like in the early 90s.
Well, whatever we think of the album, it was a huge hit. And
it was huge.
It was a huge album. It made them like very famous and very rich. So they always have that. Now, let their haters hate.
I mean, they're still going.
I was always a fan of John Frusciante.
Yeah.
That was like my favorite. And obviously everyone likes Flea. I just think it's Kiedis for me where I'm like, I have to draw the line. Especially now that he's like a sort of borderline pedo villain with his mustache. Always dating like 18-year-olds. It's just too much for me. I'm sorry. I can't handle it.
I saw Flea at Griffith Park one time when I was on my bike, and it was like pretty exciting.
Flea just seems chill.
I like Flea.
Yeah. I mean, everyone likes Flea. Like, I think, right?
I agree with that.
So another interesting thing about this area and why there could be connections, even if Houdini did not live exactly where the mansion is that under this area, there are tons of tunnels that run underground. These tunnels were used during the days of Prohibition for like this liquor store that was down the mountain in Laurel Canyon.
It's always the Prohibition tunnels.
Yes. And basically, they'd bring liquor up to these wealthy houses through these tunnels. And a lot of people who have seen Ghost, they say that they're dressed in the fancy clothes of that time period.
Nice.
So we'd love to see a ghost. They're always in that kind of dress, right?
If it's not Victorian, it's Prohibition era.
Absolutely. So there's one in the mansion's basement that's about 15 or 20 feet high and goes straight out into the mountain, which is always really creepy. And it's just pitch black in there. Rick Rubin's publicist, Heidi Robinson Fitzgerald, saw it once and she's like, it was freaky. I don't want to see a tunnel underground. It's like, where's it going? Hell?
Where does it
go? I
go?
don't fucking know.
Hell.
The pits of hell. Where's it going? The core?
The core.
Nothing good's down there. I don't want to go into the core.
I don't want to I don't want to go underground.
So regardless of this housing connections, the Houdini connection, several music artists have had spooky encounters at this mansion. Now, another rumor about the house is that it's on the same lot as a home owned by Errol Flynn. And to be honest, that's a little more cursed even than Houdini living there.
That is way more cursed.
So as I mentioned, Rick bought the home in 1990. His first big album there was Blood Sugar Sex Magic. And the band actually, for the most part, lived at the mansion while they recorded. But drummer Chad Smith at some point refused to stay in the house with the rest of the band, saying, I'm not scared of ghosts, but I felt a presence. Strange orbs started showing up in photographs when they were taking pictures of of the recording sessions. Flea reported seeing a woman in black, and John Frusciante perceived the ghost as friendly. He heard the sounds of a ghostly woman engaged in sexual activity once, and he began to masturbate.
No, he didn't.
That's what he said.
That is sick.
I was like, honestly, that's the one I had a crush on too.
Of course it is, Desi.
I mean, he was probably on a lot of drugs.
What a sick freak. Tell me more.
That is sick. I honestly was like, what? When I read that, but I was like, that's a good detail. And he encountered more ghosts after that because I'm sure they're like, this guy likes to get his freak on. Let's go.
The ghosts were drawn to him because he paid attention.
He gave them the time of day. And sometimes that's all a woman ghost wants. A little fucking recognition.
Yeah.
She still got it.
She bragged to all her other ghostly friends.
Yeah. She's like, I just went, ah. And he started jerking. So one photo in particular actually ended up in the album art. In the photo, the band is standing on a little bridge in front of the house. Next to the band, there is like a wispy entity floating in the photograph. And the photographer only noticed it once the photo was developed. So that's in the album art.
Wow.
If I still had the CD, I'd definitely look it up. Now, while recording Volume 3, Subliminal Verses, Slipknot frontman Corey Taylor ran into one of the entities that were allegedly living in the mansion. In his book, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to Heaven, he said that he had wrapped up recording one afternoon and was about to hop in the shower before heading out to the bars. After getting out of the shower, he said he saw a mysterious man in his bathroom. He said, I looked up and saw a man in a tuxedo staring right at me. I ran into my room, but when I looked back, there was no one there. The more I thought about it, Tuxedo Man would have had to walk through the door of our bedroom, not open it and come in, but through it. Do you like Slipknot?
No.
I don't know. I couldn't even name a song by them.
Look, they were popular amongst the metal kids when I was in high school. They're a very beloved band in that community of
and
people
he has a
who
book,
like that.
So
I'd kind of be interested. The book, I kind of would be interested in reading the book. It's not my kind of music. I'll just say that.
But sometimes these books can be good.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I would read the book.
Yeah, because he's done some shit.
He's seen some shit for sure.
Now, in 2003, another band, the Mars Volta. Do you know this band?
Of course.
Yeah. They saw several doors opening on their own, according to Kerrang.
That's the magazine.
Oh, Kerrang. Oh, this must be an interview with Kerrang. Yeah. I was like, what the hell's Kerrang? Who's Kerrang? Because I saw magazine. An I at the end. I was like, Kerangi.
Oh.
The phenomenon has been reported by other musicians as well, seeing these doors open. Slipknot's Joey Jordison also saw these kind of spiritual or like ghosty, poltergeisty type things. In 2004, System of a Down were recording Mesmerize and Hypnotize at the mansion. And Heidi, who I mentioned earlier, this is Rick Rubin's publicist, she was there organizing interviews and photo shoots at the house for the band. One day she arrived early before anyone had gotten there, and she was just setting things up. She sat down at the dining room table, facing the grand winding staircase with her back towards the entryway, and then she felt something behind her by her back. She said the feeling grew stronger. It wasn't bad or anything, but it was obvious, and it grew to where it was so intense that I felt like something was standing right behind me. She turned around and nothing was there. Instead, an apparition then appeared in front of her, the ghost of a woman dressed in all white walking down the stairs. There was no breeze in the house, but whatever she was wearing was floating in the wind. And then she stopped. Heidi isn't sure if the woman saw her or not, but she turned around and walked back up the stairs. And that was that.
Damn.
The last album that had been recorded at the mansion was 2023, Houdini by Dua Lipa.
No way.
Yeah. But I looked it up and it didn't seem like she picked that based on the mansion, but it can't be a coincidence, right?
That's a big coincidence.
So, yeah.
Did Dua see anything?
I didn't see I didn't see any more recent stories of stuff happening. This was all, seemed like the last ones were in the early 2000s. But maybe people just haven't talked about it because they're scared.
Yeah.
There's also they're scared for their lives.
And does Rick Rubin still live there?
I don't know that he ever lived there.
But he owned it.
He owned it. I think he probably still owns the mansion.
Yeah.
But maybe people just don't stay there as much as they used to.
Because they know about the reputation.
They know about the people now are like, no, I don't think that's like a thing anymore. I think people used to do that where they would like live and breathe recording like in the same space.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, who knows? The next residence we're going to talk about, and this was just sort of a random one because when I was looking up places, I saw this really interesting conversation in a Reddit. So I'm just going to basically talk about this a little bit, but I feel like it's a topic we can get into deeper at some point. And that is the Oakwood Apartments. Now, I've long been fascinated with this place. This is an apartment building in Toluca Lake. It's now called Oakwood at Toluca Hills Apartments by Avalon.
By Avalon?
Who the hell's Avalon? It's like by Marriott or something.
Yeah.
So this place was built or
Kyle by
whatever.
Alien.
By Alien 2. The mysterious Alien 2.
Who the fuck is that?
Why is it 2? Is there an Alien 1? Like the first Alien? Why do they just drop things like that and never give us an explanation? We're always supposed to know.
Alien 2?
I think it's because they never want to admit it's stupid, so they have to act like it's a thing we should all know.
Yeah.
That's a very rich person thing to do. Like, oh, everyone's in the know. Alien. You don't know who Alien is? You idiot.
So this is the Oakwood Apartments in Toluca Lake.
Yes. So these came about in 1991. The people who owned this hotel had an idea about creating business.
It was a hotel?
It's kind of a...
Is it like
it's a long-term hotel. It's a long-term type hotel. So you can stay there a month. You can stay there a year. Okay. You can stay there a night. It's one of those places which are always really creepy to me. I'm sorry. That's just how I feel. I don't know why they scare me. Because it's like, what's going on? So they decided to create what is known as the Child Star program as a way to boost business.
I was going to ask if this was the Child Star apartment.
Yes, it is. So this would become a place for kids and their parents to say, without hassle of signing a lease or whatever, every pilot season, this place would fill up with hundreds of aspiring child actors and their parents. And agents and casting directors would begin to kind of go there to look out for the next, greatest discovery or whatever. They really pitched themselves as this safe and secure place for families to stay.
God, imagine how annoying that place must have been.
Jesus Christ.
Because you worked there.
Can you imagine?
Jonathan Taylor
You probably
Thomas
had it
running around.
Probably fucking drinking constantly. So some of the famous stars who stayed in Oakwood Apartments include Neil Patrick Harris, Michelle Williams, Kirsten Dunst, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Jessica Biel, Christina Ricci, Hilary Duff.
This is a real star factory.
Yes. So it's not just wannabe stars and their families, though. It's actually like other people there too, which I feel like we had to keep people separate in this situation. And despite the fact that, the management there are like, this is a very safe environment, there's been issues. So recently there was a story in almost Deadline. Is that it? Deadline? I'm like wanting to say Dateline, but it's Deadline. The apartment had to kick out 2 residents who turned out to be registered sex offenders living in the apartment building. And they were also like teachers on set.
Oh,
like,
no.
Very creepy. So clearly they're not vetting people very well. There have been several murders and unexplained deaths at the apartments. And 2 famous deaths occurred there as well. Rick James in 2004 was staying there when he died of like various things. And Corey Haim in 2010 died there at the Oakwood Apartments, which is very tragic, obviously, but also kind of like this famous child star's life ending in this place where other child stars are trying to have the fame that he had is just kind of like sad and grim.
We do have a Corey Haim episode, by the way. We did.
And we don't have a Rick James one yet, but we will.
But we will.
But
we will just say that Rick James has been on our list since we started the show. It's just been a tall order to tackle.
How much fun can we have? That one will be too crazy.
That one's gonna be a long one.
Yeah. So the place definitely has a kind of depressing, cursed vibe, and is possibly haunted, according to some former residents.
I bet.
This is the conversation I found on Reddit. It was in a paranormal subreddit, and people were asking about haunted places in Hollywood. Now, a user named Sneezy with threes, she said, or he said, they said, I lived in a very large, well-known apartment complex in Los Angeles for 2 years. It's huge, old, and looks and feels like The Shining at times. In my 2 years there were at least 2 bodies found in the parking lot, 1 murder by gunshot, and 1 unclear. It's a pretty good neighborhood, so you never hear of shootings. The place's history is riddled with suicides and overdoses, and the overall vibe of the complex, which is 26 different buildings, is very dark and eerie. I lived in a tiny studio, which was fine, although those 2 years were plagued by depression. I rarely left my bed, and I gained 20 pounds, lost my confidence, and became super introverted for no reason. Now I blame it on the energy of the building. Let's go ahead and talk about the spooky stuff. I used to hear 2 voices in my old apartment, always coming from the bathroom. They seemed to be talking to each other, and I couldn't make out what they were saying, but I could tell one voice was female and the other male. It sounded a lot like a radio station that wasn't quite clear, turned all the way down.
Oh my God.
Cabinets and doors would be open when I'd get home, despite me never touching them. My friend slept over once and said she was up all night hearing whispers. She wouldn't go into details the next morning, but I could tell she was really rattled. I made some friends who also lived in the complex, although different buildings. My friend Liz said she felt 3 intense chills up her spine while on the computer one night and then heard something fall. Her smoke detector fell off the wall. My other friend Emily had it real bad. She hears bangings on her wall above her head every time at around 3 a.m. The banging isn't coming from the floor above her, and the only thing that would make it sound like it sounds is if someone was banging the wall from the next room, which is her living room. So obviously no one can be in there.
Terrifying.
Yeah. Now, obviously no one is getting into her living room every night to bang on her wall. When she first moved into this place, she'd wake up with bruises on her arms and shoulders. She started burning sage every so often, and the bruises haven't come back. I also fell victim to ghostly bruises. I started packing up my stuff after 2 months before my move-out date. These 2 months, as my apartment started emptying, I would wake up with the most embarrassing and disgusting bruises on my calves, like the size of a peach. Multiple, all blending in with each other. My mom saw them when she came to help me move and was mortified. She thought I was anemic or doing it to myself. She made me go to the doctor so they could check me out and run tests, but there was never an answer, and the bruise never came back once I left the apartment. My friend Liz and Emily still live there, so I go pretty often. The new owners are making renovations, painting the walls fun colors and shit, but that place is haunted as fuck.
Why do they still live there?
Her friends do.
That's what I'm
I don't know.
saying.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Get out of there.
Now, someone commented to this original story, and she's like, I haven't read the comments yet. This is Bees 25. I haven't read the comments yet, but all I could think of was Oakwood or Cokewood. Now, the original girl didn't say it was Oakwood Apartments, but this person's like, this is Oakwood. She said, I had friends who lived there short term while they had work done on their home, and they liked it initially. They thought it was nice, but they didn't by the time they left 2 months later. I actually lived at the other one located further in the valley. It was very close to work, super nice, but I only lasted 1 year. I had to get out the second my lease was up. I started smudging everything, including my dogs, each night before bed. There's definitely some weirdness going on there as well. I have a work friend who's quite sensitive, and one day she randomly said, you have 3 dead bad guys in your place. They were drug dealers, but also killed someone. They stand next to your kitchen counter and watch you.
Who's this friend?
Dude, it's like, don't tell me that.
Tell me that when I move.
Yes, I've forgotten the rest, but I was always very uneasy in that specific area before she said this to me. also performed more than one ritual to get rid of some of the major grossness. They changed the Oakwood name to Avalon, like that was going to help and dispel all the associated negativity.
It's like how they changed the Cecil Hotel to Stay on Main.
Oh,
We all
right.
we all know what that hotel is.
Yes. I know the other location is more notorious. They've identified child sex trafficking rings operating out of it. Extremely disturbing knowing how many child actors live there and continue to do so. Not to mention all the famous people who've died there. So I'm so glad you got the fuck out of there. Now, the original poster said, I totally agree. I feel the same way about the entities coming and going. I shiver when I read goddamn terrifying halls because I guess another person that got deleted, they have these really long halls in the
Yeah.
Oakwood. And that's why I think she mentioned that it was like The Shining. She's like, I've forgotten how creepy those long halls were. I used to search incessantly for any stories about the place, deaths, background on the property, anything. And there was one mysterious death by motorcycle in the newspaper that someone drove their bike straight into one of the buildings of the Oakwood apartment on the street, which explains the candles and mini shrine that were sort of placed there. When I babysat for my friends who temporarily lived at the location, the baby would not stop crying every time I laid her down in the bedroom. I gave up and kept her with me in the living room area. They didn't even ask why she was still up when they returned. So just a few memories coming back to me that aren't that interesting. So this is, I'm just so fascinated by this place and I would love to find more, but it is really hard to find information out on this place.
Well, I bet we could go through the newspaper archives and find old stories that have happened there.
Right. I actually was looking into this a few years back, and I think there might be a documentary, but it's kind of a shady YouTube documentary. So I don't know how accurate it is or if there's an agenda behind it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, write in if you have a story about Oakwood Apartments.
Write in if you've lived there before.
I would love to know.
Or gone there.
But yeah, it makes sense to me that a place like this would have such a sad, dark energy because we mentioned the famous people who have lived there, but think of the hundreds who didn't achieve their dreams. I don't know. That just seems like a grim space to me.
Yeah.
Like thinking of them going there happy for their first pilot season and just being depressed.
Leaving all strung out.
Yeah. So let's take a break here and we will be back. We're all familiar with 150 Cielo Drive. This is the site of one of the sites of the infamous Manson murders where Sharon Tate and Roman Polanski lived. The final resident of this original house was Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails.
He actually lived there?
Yeah. Yep. He lived there, rented the house in 1992, and set up a recording studio there. This studio was dubbed La Pig as a reference to pig that was written in Tate's blood on the front door of the house. In addition to Nine Inch Nails album, The Downward Spiral, obviously, of course, Marilyn Manson also recorded an album here, Portrait of an American Family. And Trent talks about, feeling weird there. I mean, obviously, this is a weird place to be. He said the moment he walked into the house, it was scary as shit.
I mean, you just moved into arguably the most famous murder site in Los Angeles.
Yeah. So there was obviously a dark cloud remaining over the house still. He could sense the sadness. He said that sometimes he'd come home and there would be bouquets of dead roses because people were still treating this like a shrine and going up there and leaving things. And he began to get creeped out because he's like, is this shrine for Sharon Tate or for Charles Manson? It started to disturb his consciousness, which is definitely a good thing. He eventually moves out in December of 93, saying that there was just too much history in that house for me to handle. And he also had, he kind of ran into Sharon Tate's sister at some point, and she confronted him on living there and kind of seemingly relishing in the gore of it, right? Because he had the pig and whatever. And she kind of owned his ass. And he's like, he was like, "You're right. Like, what if that was my sister and someone was doing that and thinking it was cool to be there?"
Yeah.
So he's like, "I didn't want to support the serial killer bullshit." He leaves the house. He does take the front door and places it on his new recording studio in New Orleans, which was an ex funeral home. So he's still a little dark. After that, the home is completely demolished and rebuilt. Like even the grass and dirt was picked up and removed
Good.
because they didn't want
That
anything.
dirt's haunted.
Look, the grass and dirt there is super actually part of the whole story. Like,
Yes.
so the street number was changed to 10066. I don't know if I like that. It's too close to 666. Like, can we just not do that number?
No sixes.
It's making me go there. And in 2000, it was purchased by Full House creator Jeff Franklin.
No way.
Yes. Now, this guy turns out to be a huge piece of shit. And he got kicked off Fuller House when the reboot happened.
Wait, he did?
Yes. So I kind of had to look into this when I saw that.
Why did he get kicked off?
Well, he was really inappropriate on set. He would talk to the cast and crew about orgies he had over the weekend.
No, he didn't.
Yes. He would invite writers to come to his mansion. By the way, the house that was rebuilt, first of all, despite the horror that happened there, it's a very cute old house. The location is stunning. It's like 360-degree views of everywhere in Los Angeles. They built like, I don't know, it's like one of those houses that's like 20,000 square feet, 13 bathrooms.
Right.
It's like a Mediterranean style. It's disgusting. It's like gross. I hate it. So this is the house he bought. He's inviting the writers to his house. He's like, don't forget to bring your bikinis. He said that he doesn't like to hire directors who are women or people of color. He likes male writers. He apologized to his staff for not dating Jewish women. He described female directors as all the same. About one cast member, he's like, she's probably going to get pregnant next season. And he's like, I wish all women on my staff would get hysterectomies. This is just awful. The worst one, though, he said about an underage girl on the set, she's one nose job away from a good fuck.
Are you fucking kidding me?
This guy is disgusting.
This is Jeff Franklin of Full House?
Yes. I was actually reading this. I was like, we need to do like an episode that's about all of the horrible TV writers who aren't that famous, but kind of got like this guy.
Yeah.
There's so many stories like this that are disgusting.
Oh my God.
So he owned the house. I don't know if he still does, but it's literally like, he tried to sell it in 2019 for $97 million. The price got dropped. And right now on Zillow, the house is estimated at $17 million. Like I said, the location is probably why it is a huge, ugly mansion now. But the location is definitely worth paying for. And I would tear down the house if I was a billionaire who could afford that house. So this is not about this house on Cielo Drive, though. This is about a house that's down the road from Cielo Drive and is owned by a man named David Oman. This place is very famously haunted. When I decided to talk about this case, I immediately texted Tom O'Neill, and I was like, do you know David Oman? He's like, oh, yeah, he's crazy. So this guy, he's a crazy guy. But, I mean, we'll see. So in 1998, David Oman's dad called him about a lot of land that was in foreclosure in Benedict Canyon for just $40,000. David was almost sure that his dad was like not seeing an extra zero on the property, but it was $40,000 and they bought the property. He was shocked to find that it was located on Cielo Drive, just 150 feet from the Sharon Tate Roman Polanski house. So he got this property and he began the process of building a 3-story home that would be kind of built into the cliffside. This is like a common thing in the hills of LA. These houses are like multi-level, kind of in the cliff. Very kind of scary when you see them there.
Yeah.
But it's pretty common. So he said that before he started construction on his house, his beloved cat Arthur had died, and he decided that he would bury him at the property. And when he was burying his cat, he said that that was the first time he felt spirits, but they were comforting him throughout this process, so he didn't feel scared. During the building process, while construction was happening on the first floor, which is all the way down the hill. He began to feel presences, and he was thinking that it was a worker, like standing behind him. He'd be down there, and then no one would be there. During the 3.5 years it took to construct the house, he said that he would always feel like he was never alone. On the final day of construction, he finally got the nerve to ask his workers if they had also ever felt anything, and one of them told him an eerie story. He said he was working alone one day when he heard voices on the top floor. He called up and no one answered. Then he looked on his floor and no one was there. He started walking up the staircase and was really getting the creeps as he was walking up the stairs. He decided to get his tools and leave, and as he was doing this on the bottom level, he heard footsteps on the staircase. His heart started racing and he finally looked up from the bottom of the landing and no one was there. Then he felt an ice-cold breeze hit him around the neck. He got the hell out of there and didn't return for 6 weeks. 4 years later, David himself heard steps on the staircase and was lying paralyzed in bed for over an hour before he was able to check. All the doors were locked when he finally did, and the alarms were on. Now, no other further activity was happening at the house until 2008 or 2009. David was at his home with a date watching the movie White Chicks.
Real smooth.
Now, the thing I like about David is he's the type of guy who gives way too many details.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hilarious because it's like, we don't need to know this, David.
I appreciate that.
I do too. So he said they were watching the movie, and right at the moment where Terry Crews said, "Easy white chocolate," he heard a man talking on the top floor. Why that detail was so funny to me that he specifically remembered what line it was.
Honestly, I relate to that.
Me too. So he thought maybe it was his answering machine, but when he went up to the top floor to listen to the message, there was no message. And he realized he would have heard the phone ring first if someone did call and leave a message. At this point, he was certain his house was haunted, and things started escalating. He said that a guest of his in the lower guest bedroom on the first floor said that he was dragged across the bed and pulled up into the corner of the ceiling.
What?
Things were moving around in the house. And in 2007, he's featured on a Ghost Hunters episode covering the Manson murders. In the episode, the teen gets some very eerie EVP recordings. The first EVP sounds like a child and says, take me away." And the second sounds like a woman screaming in despair before finally saying, "Why are you doing this?" Now, if you remember in Helter Skelter, the book, it's reported that Sharon Tate says, "Why are you doing this?" while she's watching Jay Sebring get murdered. So obviously, this appearance gets the Omen house a lot of attention in the paranormal world. People start coming and doing their own little investigations. And a psychic medium named Lisa Williams comes, and not only does she sense that there's victims from the Manson murders at the house, but she also senses Rudolph Valentino's ghost is there as well. Now, his house, Falcon Lair, is directly across the canyon from the Omen house. And I didn't get to this, but Rudolph Valentino's ghost is seen a lot in Hollywood.
I know. He's always hanging around.
So that could be another thing. I just didn't get to it. There was also his ring that was cursed too, that I almost got to, but I was like, I got enough. There's just so much Rudolph Valentino stuff. So, of course, she also sensed a Native American presence as well. Now, another paranormal psychologist named Barry Taff came, and he became violently ill from the geomagnetic energy coming from the house. In the bottom level, there's exposed cliffside dirt, and Taff sensed that there was a Native American on horseback buried there. He described the area as geomagnetic anomaly that's been acknowledged by the federal government as being up to 60 times the normal level of geomagnetic energy, whatever the hell that means. He said it was negative 2,000 here and positive 2,000 up here. You know, they're telling you these numbers. You're like, I have no basis for this.
What the hell does that mean?
He called it the Mount Everest of haunted houses and said that he will never go there again. And this guy is the guy who he is famous because he did the Entity House in Culver City.
So did they find a person buried there?
Well, no, but I'll get to it.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. Well, I don't think you can really dig into the mountain, right?
Yeah, that might be dangerous.
I don't think you can. In 2014, Ghost Adventures, which is Zach Bagans' second show, wants to investigate it again. But David, he doesn't like Zach.
Wait, okay. David still lives there?
Yes.
He didn't move?
No, and we can tour it if we want to.
I might go.
Okay. I was like, I should go.
I'd like to meet the guy because he sounds kind of weird.
He's a character for sure. So I read some people that are like, he's definitely a character and I can take him in small doses. He's like one of those guys.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, I'm done. Enough of this guy.
Where you have to take a nap.
Yes.
Afterwards.
He's probably emotionally draining. So he was not feeling Zach Bagans at all the second time around. He told a story about Zach that sort of turned him off from the beginning of the experience. He said he invited all the guys to hang with him and have a barbecue before they started filming. But Zach told him that he couldn't because he was flying a girl in from Vegas. David is really irritated by this. And he's like, you just came from Vegas and are in LA. Why do you have to fly her in from Vegas?
It
did not make sense to him at all. I was like, because he wants to be like, hey, babe, I'll fly you in from Vegas. That's why. So this just set David off on the wrong foot. He was like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Omen says that the spirits were also pissed about this snuff.
They got snubbed.
I like that the ghosts are always like with him.
Yeah.
They're like, we don't like it.
They support him.
They support David. Now, in particular, one thing that really pissed the ghost off in the episode, which I did watch, they have a reenactment of this testimony of a paranormal investigator.
Wait, it's not even it's a reenactment of the testimony?
So this paranormal investigator named Cam something or other, she's like, I went up there one day and I saw a pregnant woman walking down the street holding her stomach. And she was bloody and then she disappears at some point. And after that, I was lightheaded and nauseated for days. So they do a reenactment of this pregnant woman walking down the street.
I thought you meant they did a reenactment of this woman
Oh, no. No. They do a reenactment of her, what she testifies to. So he said that that didn't happen, David Omen, and that the spirits were pissed because they found that whole thing very disrespectful and trying to cash in on Sharon Tate's notoriety or whatever, her fame. So while filming this reenactment, David took a photo of the pregnant woman walking, the actress. And when he looked at the photos later, he saw that her stomach had a ball of white glowy apparition directly over where her pregnant belly was.
Oh my God.
And he said that the spirits were trying to protect the memory of the pregnancy, like whatever, the memory of Sharon Tate, and didn't want it to be seen or something.
Yeah.
That they were there. So he warned the crew that the spirits were not happy and he couldn't do anything to protect them. The producer was like, yeah. They were all laughing at him. But problems began right away on the first night of shooting. In the house, all of the equipment all of a sudden was non-operational. It just did not work. They had to charge literally every fucking piece of equipment once again.
Those ghosts wanted like a more prestigious production company.
Yeah, they're like, what is this? You got this EVP on Amazon. When it finally got up and working, the spirits seemed to have a particular interest in one of the hosts or one of the guys on the team named Nick. He's kind of like a regular ghost hunter. And this I saw in the TV show that I watched. At some point, they're in this bottom third level, like all the way down guest room, and they get their spirit box out. And the spirit box is obviously like white noise, and then that has the underwater sound of like, hey, Nick. And he's like, whoa, Nick. And then he goes next to that exposed dirt that's in the bottom level. I don't like that. When there's like in your house and you open up a door and it's
Yeah.
just exposed dirt of the foundation.
No.
That scares the hell out of me.
I
And so
don't want to live in a house clinging to a hillside personally.
yeah, it's not for me.
It's not for me.
So he goes next to this exposed dirt pile, and at that point they hear just a creepy woman say, "Hi." And at that point, Zach claims that he feels something pull him back, and Nick says that he feels like he got burned. Now they go back up onto the street, and he pulls his shirt up, and there's a red mark going across his torso that looks like a burn mark.
Nick?
Mm-hmm.
What about Zach Baggins?
He didn't have anything. Now on camera, they show like because obviously they're filming this event. There appears to be some kind of ectoplasmic thing going across Nick.
Slimer.
It's Slimer. When Zach goes back inside, he asked the spirit if it burned Nick, and the spirit box said, "I did." Sorry. I did. I like when it's like, I did. I'm a naughty spirit and I'm a bad boy. I did. It's always so funny when the spirit box answers a question.
I know, it's so good.
So then they heard footsteps and a dragging sound on the stairs. So Zach goes back up to like the top, like the command center. And he's like, Nick, you got to go back in. The spirit like has a connection to you. And Nick agrees. And he almost immediately, when he gets down there, they hear 3 knocks. And Zach tells us that this is a demon because they're mocking the Holy Trinity.
How does he know?
I don't know. I guess it's a common thing. Now, Nick feels a cold entity envelop his body, and the crew see 2 orbs seemingly like floating around his head, and we see it on TV, and go into his head. Then he goes, I'm possessed. So they don't. They immediately go down and pull him out of the house because they're like finally worried about him. And David, he tells on them though. He's like, really? Because Zach and Aaron were cracking up the whole time. Nick was down there terrified. And they don't show this on the TV show.
Right.
That's David's. He's given us the tea. David says that he's also the one that convinced them to go down and get Nick. So David
is like, get him out of my house.
Yeah, he's like, because the whole time, this is the other crazy thing. David is in his car with his dogs and cats.
He had to move his pets into the car?
Yes, because they didn't want the pets to make sounds to like get it on the EVP recorder. So they all are in the car. I was like, wait, this is crazy. I need a camera of what's going on in the car with dogs and cats just sitting in there. Sorry. So David is adamant that the spirits are not malevolent, that they were just pissed at these TV assholes being disrespectful.
I agree.
He thinks that spirits are actually very nice. Now, other mediums have described the home as a spiritual flop house and a revolving door of ghost people, including one that David claims wears a 10-gallon hat. I'm sorry. Now, people were like, 10-gallon hat, come on. That does, what do you mean, like a baseball cap? He's like, no, a 10-gallon hat. And then he
like
captured
a cowboy hat?
One of those big old, Yosemite Sam hats.
Yeah.
And he captured on film, and the white spirit, it has the outline of a 10-gallon hat, according to him.
No.
So he also says that he's never seen the spirit of Sharon Tate, but he has seen Jay Sebring, something that he didn't realize until years later after seeing a pic of him. I don't buy that for a second, because if I was buying a house down the street from the Manson murder house, I would have researched that intensely at that point, even if I never knew anything about it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So another interesting tidbit he shares about Zach is that, remember I mentioned earlier the Native American guy on a horse who supposedly some of the mediums have said were buried there?
So, okay, just to be clear, the horse is buried too.
Well,
here's what
they theorize happened. So this Cielo Drive, at some point, a certain tribe in that area, that road was some sort of like lookout place.
Yeah.
And a Native American man was on a horse riding up this road, like looking out because it is very high up and you can see everywhere. And that something happened where the horse, I'm sorry, the horse and the man, they tripped and fell down the cliff. I'm so sorry.
Well, I mean, it's not true.
I know.
It didn't
It's
actually.
the idea that that's what they came up with. Like they slipped on a pebble and
Come on.
fell down the cliff. It's so awful to think of.
But they made this up.
Okay, I know, but it's like crazy. And that basically no one could go down there and get them because these cliffs are very steep. So they just left them there to die, and their bodies stayed there.
Where did they even get this idea?
I have no idea. Because a fucking psychic saw it. They're like, he's on a horse. It's like, I agreed. When I heard that, I was like, they're buried together? Like, what happened? He got buried on his horse? Upright? Like, what the hell? But that's the story they came up with.
And if they couldn't get to him, how'd he get buried?
I have no idea. Like, erosion.
And how long ago was it?
Was he wearing a 10-gallon hat? Like, I have no idea. But anyway, that's their story. I would never truly laugh at a horse falling down a cliff. But because it's a fake, phony story, it's very funny to me that was
stupid.
That's what they came up with.
It's stupid.
So this story is what they're going with. But Zach on the show says that the house was built on a ceremonial Native American burial ground, which is not true. He just made that up and put it in the show.
That's so...
And David called him out on that. He's like, that's not true. It was a Native American on a horse. So it's like technically one Native American might be buried there with a horse, but it's not a ceremonial, whatever, burial ground like Poltergeist.
Right.
Like Zach is just trying to throw that on.
It's such a cliche, Zach.
It is a cliche at this point. So, but his house is considered to be this perfect energy level for hosting spirits, according to Barry Taff, the entity guy, because of this geomagnetic energy. He speculates that there is some kind of lava tunnel under the area, which I do not like to hear.
A lava tunnel?
I don't want to he's like, there's no fault line, but there's some kind of like lava tunnel or some other energy fucking thing.
Any moment, a lava could spew.
We're all worried about earthquakes.
But what about the lava tunnel in the hills?
And he said that this house is more lit than the entity house. Like, as far as spirits go, like this house is worse than the entity house.
Oh my God.
And that accounts for why all of the spiritual activity is happening there.
But these ghosts don't seem like that malicious. The entity ghosts were very, very malicious.
Yeah. No, these ghosts are chill. And David said he's fine being a party house for ghosts. Like he likes them.
There.
He still lives there. He has tours. We can go to something at his house. It is $99.99. He also made
$99.99?
Yeah. So it's under $100.
Oh, the cost of
the cost of it is only $99.99.
Wow.
But no, don't invite Zach Baggins. Because he's not letting that guy back in.
Could we do our podcast there?
We could probably get him on the podcast. I don't think he's that picky. But okay. He's on a lot of podcasts.
He likes to talk about his house.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what this guy's deal is, but I think he came from money.
Well,
because his dad was like a real estate agent, and I think that's how they got the property.
It's probably an expensive house. Well, what, they paid $40,000 for the land.
Look, that's not an easy house to build.
But it must have cost millions.
Yeah,
to build that.
It must have cost millions. There's like 4 houses in a row now, like on the Cielo Drive before you get to like the new wherever the Sharon Tate property, and they're all hill houses, like on the hill. They're hideous. They're like those white, whatever, rectangle, 3-level kind of houses.
I'm looking at this guy. I'm looking at pictures of this guy.
I want to watch White Chicks in that house.
I mean, that might trigger something.
The Terry Crews line happens.
It might trigger that ghost that lives upstairs.
Easy, white chocolate. What? That's, when the ghost says easy white chocolate.
The ghost doesn't say easy
No.
white chocolate. Terry Crews does.
No, but I need a ghost to say it. Then that will be the full experience. You have to pay extra for that. So that's our last haunted location.
Wow, Desi.
Yeah. Very fun looking these up. I actually was like, I wish I had time to like drive to these places.
I like that we went in a different direction. Instead of public spaces, we did residences this time.
That's how I try to ensure that I didn't dupe something. Even though I kind of flicked through each episode, I was kind of worried I'd miss something.
Yeah, because we have a lot of haunted episodes.
We did a lot of hotels, restaurants, the Hollywood sign.
We have a whole episode of haunted restaurants, don't we?
Yeah, but I'm talking specifically about the Spanish restaurant, which was in a haunted. I think the haunted restaurants weren't all Hollywood, were they?
LA.
Oh, they were?
All LA.
Okay. Well, I didn't see that episode if it was called Haunted Restaurants.
Maybe I just made that up in my head.
Yeah.
We have an episode on Patreon called Haunted Fast Food Restaurants.
That one I know about.
That's a classic.
So I found Haunted Los Angeles and Haunted Hollywood.
So that must be the Haunted Hollywood
And there
episode.
were 2 parts of each. So
well,
one of them
whatever we did last year, we did something last year about the Spanish kitchen.
The Spanish kitchen, right. Yeah. So did we ever do the Knickerbocker?
Yeah, I'm sure we
Okay.
Did we talk about that?
I didn't see it in any of our episodes, but that's why I was kind of worried about doing it. Because in the 4 I listened to, I didn't hear the Knickerbocker.
I don't think we did.
We did like the Roosevelt.
We did the Roosevelt.
Yeah. But the Knickerbocker is a good one to do because there's a lot.
That's a very haunted location.
Okay. So bye. Thank you.
We'll see you soon for the mini. Bye.